Today I'm going to road legalise this 400EX quad. Now the first thing to do is to remove the original factory switchgear and fit the quad tech harness. Now to do that we unplug the original switchgear from the bike, which has got a 6-pin plug and a 3-pin plug, and in its place plug in the new harness and then fit the new switchgear to the bike. I'm now removing the left hand switchgear, having disconnected the wires from the bike. This comes apart very easily. Find that someone's taped it onto the bike. We'll remove the tape and remove from the bike. Set the cable for the new switchgear down where the original cable came out of. And we'll lay this onto the handlebars to match. Around the handlebar. And fix the screws through the bottom to fit. The switchgear has now been connected into the new harness, and the new harness has been connected into the original harness where the original switchgear was connected. The next step is to take the rear half of the harness and connect it into the back half of the bike. To do that, we remove the back fender. What we'll do is there's 3 sets of wires. There's the fuse wire which goes onto the battery, a set of 3 wires which does the tail light and the 2 rear indicators, and we've got this wire which connects into the new brake light switch, which we'll be fitting momentarily. The new cabling is now in place, following the line of the original harness, connected into the original cable ties. What we've got now is we've got the red fuse holder, and we've got to connect that into the battery. For this conversion we're using the ACE3975 ACE4 speedometer, and the new unit has got an orange backlight and a gear indicator. Now it comes in the box with a set of 3 plugs on the end. The 2 black plugs plug straight into the harness. On the Yamaha Raptor the grey plug goes straight into the original warning light connector, but on this occasion all we're going to be doing is connecting the neutral light, because that's the only original light fitting on the Honda. There's a few options available for actually fitting the Speedo to the bike itself. The first is to drill some new holes, relocate the ignition key and mount it directly on the dashboard down there. The second is to use a unit called the ACE IHO, which is this unit here. And in this occasion we would mount the bracket on there, and the Speedo fits on the top. We also have a bracket that allows you to put a clamp around the handlebars and mount the speedometer on a small bracket to the side. I mounted the ACE IHO straight into the original handlebars, and then we fitted the Speedo to the IHO. The 3 cables out of the Speedo go down through the hole and plug onto the sockets that are already on the harness, ready to connect to. From the riding position we can see that when the ignition is switched off, the clock is displayed. If I reach over and switch on the ignition, the backlight comes on, displaying the full speed, and when I put the headlights into dip beam position, the side lights light comes on, and then into main beam we get the main beam light as well. Flicking the left indicator switch, the right indicator switch, and the hazards. So far we've had no wires to cut and no modifications to make to the original bike. If we want to connect now the neutral symbol, which can appear down here and work with a gear indicator, or the neutral symbol over here, or both, we need to tap into the original wire that runs to the green light next to the switch. And if I put the bike into neutral, the light comes on. We will need to connect into that now. As standard, the 400EX comes with a single tail light. There's no brake light on these early models. To make the quad road legal, it needs to have brake light, tail light and rear indicators. Now the rear indicators have to be mounted at least 500mm apart, and the rear brake and tail lights either have to be on the centre line or mounted a minimum of 400mm apart. To solve this problem, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the tail light and replace it with a bar. Now this bar is 400mm across, and I drill 2 holes in it to match 2 holes that are drilled on the rear brackets. It's going to sit here, and we're going to put the indicators one either side. Now these are special indicators that we use as they're 2 colour. We've got amber in this section and red in this section here. There's 2 brightnesses on the red, so the dim brightness connects to the original tail light circuitry, and the bright version connects to the new brake light switches. The new indicator bar is now in place, and you can see we've mounted a number plate light in the centre. As the 400EX isn't fitted as standard with the brake light, we have to fit a brake light switch to the front lever. The new brake light switch for the rear is mounted alongside the original spring that brings the foot brake up when you release it. Most quads have a bracket on the front where the indicators can easily be hung from. On the 400EX this isn't normally possible, so we have to mount a bar across the front the same as the one on the back. However, on this 400EX, the front fenders have been removed to give it a racing look, so we can mount the indicators on the brackets for the front fenders. The new cabling is now secured in place alongside the original wires. The warning lamps that aren't required on the S will display. The cables have been wrapped up. This wire goes to the new brake light switch, and if we look on the top here, we have all the cabling in place for the indicators. The indicator's now mounted.